Hi, my name is Xana, and I'm happy to be able to share some ideas with you about anxiety and some practical ways of dealing with it. If you're like me and an awful lot of other people, there are many ways in which anxiety really seems difficult to escape. The things we're concerned about, we hear about, the things that we worry about, the things that seem so inescapable and oppressive. So having some practical tools to deal with these feelings is really a good idea, really helpful. So anxiety, I have a poem I'd like to share with you. It's a poem by Kavari Patel, and it's called Dear You. Dear you, who always have so many things to do, so many places to be, your mind spinning like fan blades at high speed, each moment always a blur, because you're never still. I know you're tired. I also know it's not your fault. The constant brain buzz is like a swarm of bees threatening to sting if you close your eyes. You've forgotten something again. You need to prepare for that, or else you should have done that differently. What would happen if you closed your eyes? Would the world fall apart without you? Or would your mind become the open sky, flocks of thoughts flying across the sunrise, as you sat and watched and smiled? So, if you're amongst the people who suffer with anxiety, I'm imagining that somewhere towards the end of that poem, you might have become kind of irritated to hear that really all you needed to do was to sit and open your mind and watch and smile. Because you really can't think your way out of anxiety. Anxiety is an experience that happens in your mind. And when you use your mind to try to get out of anxiety, it's sort of like trying to paint your bedroom with a hammer. It doesn't work. So we have to find a different way to approach anxiety, because we're not going to be able to figure it out and think our way out of it. So if anxiety lives in your brain, then perhaps we can find a way to address the brain. And in particular, in the case of anxiety, we're going to be addressing the limbic system in the brain, the midbrain, with all the organs that are in that area, the amygdala and the hippocampus and the hypothalamus. The amygdala processes fear and threatening stimuli. So if you think about the things you worry about, that is, the things that you're anxious about, they probably have a lot of fear and threatening stimuli, and they energize your limbic brain. They get the center of your brain all active. The good news is that there's a way, a predictable way, to calm the amygdala down. Fortunately, we're halfway there already, because it involves breathing, something that all of us are pretty good at. So paced breathing is the technique that I want to share with you today. Paced breathing just refers to a pattern of breathing that is slow and regulated. It's constant. There's a pattern to it. So let's try this together. What we're going to do is breathe through the nose to a count of 4, then hold the breath for 2 counts, and then exhale through the mouth for 4 counts. Now, we're going to do this together right now for 2 rounds, only 2 rounds. But when you're working on your own, see if you can go 10 rounds, because that's when you'll really begin to notice a difference. But for right now, let's practice the 2 rounds together. So, in through the nose. Hold for 2. And exhale. In. Hold for 2. And exhale. So I would suggest trying that and do 10 breaths like that. See if you can evaluate the amount of agitation that you experience before you try this experiment. Do the 10 breaths in that way, this 4-2-4 pattern. And then when you're done, evaluate your state of agitation afterwards and see if you don't feel a little more calm. This way of breathing in general is very similar to that which is espoused in meditation techniques. So it's been around for a long time. There are volumes of literature that assure you that you are not wasting your time. This is a great practice to try, even though it doesn't seem all that fancy and doesn't require, lots of study or expense or reading books. And of course, paced breathing doesn't change the external world. But developing a practice of paced breathing changes you. It calms the emotional brain down, calms the amygdala down. And what that means is that you're freed up from some of that anxiety, maybe from a lot of that anxiety. And when that happens, you can enjoy the natural state of self-compassion, of courage, a willingness, a desire to engage with life. So even though it doesn't change the outside world, it changes you in a way that empowers you to engage with your experience in a much more delightful and productive way. So I hope you're able to use this suggestion. If you're just captivated with the idea of paced breathing, also please know that, of course, there's an app for this. Go to YouTube and look up paced breathing. They have them on 4 breaths a minute, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5 breaths per minute. What you want to do is begin to slow the rate of respiration. So I hope that you find this helpful, and thanks for tuning in.